The night my wife showed up at my door again, she was holding my old hoodie like a hostage and smiling like we were about to take a cute selfie for our anniversary, except it was 1:12 in the morning, and I had not seen her in 4 months, and the hoodie was the one she swore she lost. The weekend, she told me she needed space to think, so yeah, my brain did the math before my heart even cleared its throat. She stood under my porch light with rain in her hair and that same confident little tilt in her chin, like she expected me to fold, like I was some badly trained chair that collapses on command. Behind her, the street was empty except for a car parked half a block away with its lights off, which is a detail I noticed, because I am not the type of man who gets surprised twice. Not anymore. I opened the door just enough to let the chain catch because boundaries are free and therapy is expensive. She said my name like it was still hers to use. Then she said, "I need to talk." Like the word need was a magic key. She tried to hand me the hoodie and her fingers shook just enough to make it look like vulnerability or cold or guilt. Those three things always wear the same outfit. "Where did you get that?" I asked. She blinked once, then smiled again. "Found it." She was lying so casually, I almost respected the efficiency. "Found it where?" I asked. She leaned closer like she could whisper her way through the chain lock. "In my trunk," which was not an answer, and also somehow worse. The rain smelled like wet asphalt, and the neighbor upstairs was playing some late-night cooking show loud enough that a guy somewhere was yelling about basil, which was perfect, because my life had turned into a comedy with no laugh track. She said, "Can I come in?" My first instinct was to say no and then shut the door and go back to my very peaceful life of eating cereal for dinner and not being compared to other men, like I was a phone plan. But I looked at her face and saw something I did not expect. Not softness, not love, not regret either. It was panic, thinly covered with makeup and good posture. The kind of panic that means someone is chasing you, even if they are not physically running. And then she did the one thing she never did when we were married. She apologized. She said, "I am sorry." Not the performance version she used when she forgot to pay a bill. An actual apology with the words landing heavy between us. And because I am emotionally mature, and also because I am curious in the way people slow down for car wrecks, I unlatched the chain and opened the door. She stepped inside like she still belonged in my hallway, like the little shoe rack by the wall was still her organization project, like the framed photo of me hiking alone was not a deliberate replacement for our wedding picture. She looked around, and her eyes flicked to the empty space where our photo used to be. Then she swallowed and said, "You really did it. You moved on?" "Yeah," I said. And I kept my voice calm because dignity is my favorite outfit. "What do you want?" She set the hoodie on the back of my couch like she was placing evidence on a table. Then she reached into her purse and pulled out a folded paper. Not a letter, not a note, a receipt. She held it out to me with 2 fingers like it was contaminated. It was from a jewelry store in the city, the expensive one with velvet ropes, and employees who talk like your wallet is a personality trait. The date on it was last week. The amount was high enough to make my eyebrows salute, and the name printed under the purchase was mine, my full name, first, middle, last, spelled correctly, the way only official documents ever do. For a second I just stared at it, waiting for my brain to suggest a reasonable explanation. Like maybe I had sleepwalked into capitalism, but no. This was clean and sharp and intentional. "Why is my name on this?" I asked. Her mouth opened and closed. Then she said, "Because he is trying to ruin you." "He who?" I asked, though I already had a guess with perfect hair and a resume. She said his name and it landed in the room. Like a bad smell, Caleb, ambitious Caleb, successful Caleb. Caleb who apparently had the kind of drive my wife used to say she wished I had. Caleb who once sent her a selfie from a hotel gym mirror like sweat was a personality. Caleb who I never met, but whose shadow had sat at our table for months. She said he is doing things, and I do not know how far he will go. He used your name because he has your information. He has what? I asked. She looked at the floor like it might give her better options. Then she said, I told him things. Things I should not have told him. I laughed once, not because it was funny, but because sometimes laughter is just air leaving your body in defeat. You told your boyfriend my information, I said. She flinched at boyfriend like it stung. He was not supposed to be like this, she said, which is what everyone says right before admitting they ignored 10 red flags because the person was tall and knew how to order wine. My phone buzzed on the counter. A single notification, no caller ID, just a text with no number shown because the sender was blocked and still found a way. The message said, "Hope you like surprises." My stomach went tight, but I kept my face neutral because I refused to be entertained by anyone who thinks manipulation is charisma. My wife saw the screen and her eyes went wide. She said, "He is here. Is he here?" "No," I said. Then I looked at the window and saw a shape shift near the parked car down the block, not running, just moving like someone checking angles. My wife grabbed my sleeve and her nails pressed through the fabric. "Please, you have to help me," she said. And there it was, the twist I did not order. My ex-wife was not here because she missed me. She was here because the man she left me for had turned her life into a maze, and now she needed the exit key, and the wild part was, she still believed I would hand it to her just because she asked nicely. So I took a slow breath, looked at the hoodie on my couch, looked at the receipt with my name, then looked at her face, and I said, "You can stay right there and tell me everything from the beginning, or you can walk back into the rain. Either way, do not lie to me again." She nodded too fast, like a person agreeing before they hear the terms. Then she said, okay, I will tell you." And right as she started talking, my front door camera pinged again, motion detected, porch. And on my phone screen, through the fisheye lens, I saw a hand reach up slowly and place something against my door, perfectly centered, like a gift. It was a small envelope, white unmarked, and my wife stopped mid-sentence because she heard it too. The soft tap, like a polite threat, and she whispered, "That is him, that is Caleb," and I did not open the envelope yet, not because I was scared, but because I already knew whatever was inside was going to change the shape of my night, maybe my life. And I have learned the hard way that the truth always costs extra, even when your name is printed on the receipt. For a second, I just stared at the door like it had personally betrayed me. Then I looked at my wife, ex-wife technically, standing in my living room with wet hair and shaky hands, like she was a guest star who showed up late and still expected top billing. My phone still showed the porch camera feed, that clean white envelope sitting against the door, perfectly placed, too confident to be random. My ex whispered, "Do not open it," like the envelope could explode into drama confetti, and because I enjoy being alive, and also because I hate being played, I did not touch it. Instead, I walked to the window and angled the blinds just enough to see the street without turning myself into a silhouette. The car half a block away was still there. Lights off, engine maybe on, hard to tell. But I saw movement inside, like someone shifting in the seat, watching, waiting. My ex said he has been doing this for weeks. He calls from different numbers, he shows up places, he sends things to my work. He wants me scared, and now he wants you scared too. Why would he want me scared? I asked. My voice came out calm, but my brain was already organizing facts into a file folder labeled "Revenge with a Side of Ego," she said, "because he thinks you are the reason I left him, that you convinced me, that you were playing some long game." The irony almost made me choke on air. Long game me, the guy who eats cereal for dinner and calls it a personal brand. "No," I said. "You left me because you wanted someone more ambitious and successful. Remember, that was the exact speech." She winced, and for a moment her face showed what regret looks like when it cannot find a mirror to fix itself. She said, "I know what I said, and I was wrong." Not about you being you, but about what I thought I needed. You do not get bonus points for realizing that after you burn the house down, I said, and she nodded like she had finally found the corner she deserved. Then she lifted her hand slightly and said, I am not asking you to take me back right now, I am asking you not to let him destroy you because of me. Destroy me how? I asked. She pointed at the receipt. He opened accounts in your name, or tried. He bought things, then returned them. He told me he has copies of stuff. He says he can make it look like you did things that could get you fired or worse. My stomach tightened again. Not fear, more like annoyance, like a mosquito that somehow learned your schedule. Okay, I said, then we do this the smart way. First rule, you stop calling him your boyfriend. He is not your boyfriend. He is a walking LinkedIn post with control issues. Second rule, you tell me every single detail you have. Dates, places, numbers, emails, everything. She nodded again and moved toward the couch, then stopped like she forgot she no longer lived here. Can I sit? She asked. You can sit on the edge like a person who respects furniture rights, I said. She sat like she was balancing on guilt, then she started talking fast, like she was afraid the truth would expire if she did not unload it quickly. She told me how she met Caleb through a networking event her friend dragged her to, how he made her feel seen, how he talked about goals and growth and legacy like he was selling bottled water, how she liked the way people looked at him, like he was already famous for something. She said she told him about me, about my job, about my habits, about my calm personality that she used to call boring until she needed it. She said he loved hearing about me at first, like he was collecting trivia about the man he wanted to replace. Then when she finally left me and moved into his apartment for a while, things got weird fast. He started asking for passwords, not directly, just casually. Like, hey, what is your Netflix login? Then, hey, what is your bank app called? Then, hey, can you add me to your phone plan so we can save money? And because she was high on her own bad decisions, she said yes to things that felt normal in a relationship until they were not. She said he wanted access to her email because he claimed he was ordering furniture. Then he wanted her to sign forms because he said he was setting up a business account. Then one day she realized he had her ID in his desk drawer, like a trophy. She said when she asked for it back, he laughed and said, "Relax, I am protecting you." That sentence is always the start of a problem. She said she tried to leave after a fight. Not a screaming fight, more like a cold corporate meeting where he listed reasons she should stay. And when she walked out, he did not chase her. He just texted her a photo of her own passport on his kitchen counter, like a reminder that she belonged to his filing system. Then she said he started bringing up me, how she was still obsessed with me, how she probably wanted to run back to boring safe me. How she was the kind of woman who ruins men, then crawls back. She said she told him no, that she was done with me, and he laughed and said, "Then I will handle him for you," which is where the receipt came in. "He bought a watch in your name," she said. Then he sent me a photo of the receipt and said, "Watch how easy it is to make a man look guilty when he never checks his credit." My mouth went dry, not because I was helpless, but because I hated how plausible it was. Most people do not think someone is going to weaponize their identity like a hobby. My phone buzzed again. No caller ID again, another message. This one said, "Open it." And because apparently my life was now an interactive experience, I heard a soft second tap on the door, like someone adjusting the envelope to be extra dramatic. My ex jumped like the couch bit her. Then she reached for my arm again, and I gently moved away, not cruelly, just firmly, like a man removing a hand from a hot stove. "Stay still," I said. She whispered, "He knows where you live. He knows where you live because you brought him into my life like he was a motivational quote," I said. Then I walked to the kitchen counter and grabbed a marker and a sticky note. Very domestic, very normal, like I was about to label leftovers. Instead, I wrote one line, "Smile for the camera." Then I opened my door just enough to grab the envelope without letting my face show outside. Then I placed the sticky note on the spot where the envelope had been, dead center. So whoever was watching would see it, and I closed the door and locked it. My ex stared at me like I had grown a second head. "What are you doing?" she asked. "Setting a boundary with stationery," I said. Then I held the envelope up to the light. There was no return address, no stamp, just my name handwritten in neat, confident letters. Like the writer had time and patience and a weird hobby, my ex said, "Please do not open it. He wants you to panic," and I said, "I am not panicking, but I am opening it because I do not negotiate with mystery envelopes in my own house." So I slid my finger under the flap and pulled out a single sheet of paper, folded once. Inside was a printed screenshot of a message thread. Not mine, not hers, someone else. The top of it said Caleb, and then my name again, as if my identity was now a shared workspace. And the messages were not about romance or anything like that. They were about me, about my schedule, about my address, about the fact that I changed my locks, about the fact that I started jogging in the mornings, which I had not told anyone except my neighbor one time in the elevator. The last message on the page said, "He thinks he is safe. Make him answer the door tomorrow at 7:15. My ex put a hand over her mouth. She whispered, "That is tomorrow morning." And I looked at the timestamp on the screenshot, then at her, then at my porch camera feed still open on my phone. And I said, "Not tomorrow morning. Today morning," because it was already after 1. Which meant whoever wrote this was not planning a future scare. They were on a clock. And that meant the next twist was not going to wait for my permission. And right then my doorbell rang, once, clean, confident, like a man who believed the world always opens for him, and my ex whispered, "That is him," again, like naming the monster made it real. And I smiled a little, not because I was happy, but because I finally understood the game. Caleb was not just trying to scare us. He was trying to control the narrative, and I was about to take the microphone back. I did not open the door, not because I was scared, but because I am done rewarding people for being loud. So I checked the porch camera again, and the lens showed a delivery guy in a bright jacket holding a small box and a clipboard. He looked bored, not dangerous. Behind him, the street stayed quiet except for that dark car still parked down the block like a bad thought. The delivery guy rang again and said delivery for my full name, which made my skin go cold because nobody says a full name unless they are reading it. My ex whispered, "He is using couriers now, like stalking with customer service." I spoke through the door. "Leave it on the mat." The delivery guy said signature required, "Sorry man, policy." And right then my phone buzzed with a new email alert, subject line, "Thank you for updating your security settings." From my smart lock company, timestamp, 1 minute ago, my ex leaned in and I stepped away. Then I opened the email and saw it. Someone had tried to reset my lock account using my old recovery email, an email I had not used in years, an email my ex absolutely knew because she set it up when we were newly married and still cute and trusting. My ex went pale and said, "I swear I did not," and I believed her for exactly one reason. Her face looked like she had just realized her mess had a subscription plan. Outside, the delivery guy shifted his weight and said, "Sir, I cannot leave it without a signature." Then he looked off to the side like he was listening to someone, not on a phone, like someone nearby had just spoken. My stomach tightened. Not fear, focus. Then my ex phone lit up on the couch. Unknown number. She did not touch it, just stared like it was a snake. The call stopped. Then a text popped up from the same number. "If he will not open the door, make him open his email," and my ex whispered, "He can see us," like he was sitting in the dark car with binoculars and an ego. Then the delivery guy took one step back and set the box down anyway, not gently. More like he was done being involved. He said whatever. "Man, have a nice night," then walked fast to his van. And the second he drove off, my porch camera caught a shadow move near my mailbox. Quick, deliberate, like a hand doing something and leaving. My ex said, "What was that?" And I said, "That was the part where he stops knocking and starts planting. So we are not opening that box until we document everything. Then we are calling someone who cares about paper trails more than pride." And my smart lock app pinged again, 3 failed code attempts, all in a row, all too confident to be a guess. My ex swallowed and said, "He knows the old code, does he?" And I looked at her and said, "You are going to tell me right now. Who else had keys? Who else had codes? Who else you trusted with my life like it was a group project?" She stared at me like the question was a spotlight, and she was suddenly aware of every stain on her story. Then she said, "Only him. Only Caleb." He watched me type it once and joked about how easy it is to remember, like it was cute, like he was not building a map. My lock app pinged again, then stopped, like whoever was trying decided to change tactics. So I grabbed my phone and started recording video, door, box, mailbox, street, car down the block. Then I zoomed on the car and caught a screen glow inside. Proof enough to start. My ex whispered we should call the police. And I said yes, but first we do not touch anything he can claim we handled. Then my door camera pinged. Mailbox opened, and on the feed, I saw a hand slide something in, not mail, not a letter, more like a thick envelope. My ex phone buzzed again, text from unknown, "Open your box, or I open his past." And my ex said he is going to send things to your job, and I said he already tried. So now we move fast. We called non-emergency, and I reported identity fraud attempts and suspicious activity, keeping my voice steady like I was ordering pizza. Then I asked my ex for her phone. She hesitated, then handed it over. And the moment I unlocked it, I saw a pinned chat name, Caleb, muted, archived, still there like a ghost she refused to bury, and that told me everything. Not about love, about leverage. I opened the archived thread, and my ex grabbed her own wrist like she was holding herself back. The last messages were not romantic. They were instructions. Send me the lock brand. Send me the recovery email, confirm his jogging time. And her replies were short and terrified. "Stop, leave him alone, please." Then Caleb sent a photo of my front door, from the street, from tonight. My ex whispered he made me send things at first. He said he would delete my private photos and emails if I did not. And I said, "So he has your accounts too?" She nodded, eyes wet but steady. Then my phone buzzed, unknown again. New message, check your mailbox. And on the porch cam feed, I saw that thick envelope sitting inside, waiting like a dare. I did not go outside. Instead, I used the camera zoom to capture the envelope inside the mailbox. Then I recorded the box on my mat. Then I backed up every clip to the cloud. Because if Caleb wanted a narrative, I was going to give him timestamps. The dispatcher said an officer would come by, so we waited. My ex sat rigid on the couch like a guest at her own trial. Then my work email pinged, "Subject inquiry about your recent purchases." From HR, my chest went tight. Not panic, just heat. Someone had already flagged the watch receipt. My ex whispered he is moving faster, and I said good, fast means sloppy. Then, the porch camera caught headlights finally turning on in that dark car. It rolled forward slowly, too slowly, like he wanted us to watch him leave. And my ex phone buzzed one more time. Text, "You picked the wrong man to run back to." When the officer arrived, I handed over my recordings first, then the screenshots, then the HR email, like I was presenting a case, not a sob story. We opened the mailbox envelope with gloves the officer provided. Inside was another receipt and a printout of a loan application. In my name. Half finished, with my social typed in, my ex made a sound like shame hitting her lungs. The officer asked how Caleb got the info. My ex answered without looking at me, through me, and that was the only honest sentence she had brought all night. The officer said fraud unit would follow up, Then I forwarded everything to HR and froze my credit on speaker while my ex listened to the hold music like a punishment. When Dawn hit the windows, she said, "I want to fix what I broke." And I said, "You can start by walking out of my house and staying out." Then I said, "I will not be your safe place while you are still someone else's weapon." She nodded once, finally, then left my hoodie behind and took her chaos with her. And when my phone buzzed again with one last unknown message, it just said, "Respect." And for the first time all night I smiled for real, because I knew I had my life back.